Okay, now we've already cleaned up the plant. We've gotten rid of the roots that we don't need. We've cleaned up all the leaves. As you can see, all the alcohol has dried up, and there's nothing else that needs to be done as far as the cleaning goes. So we're now going to go into the actual mounting. In this particular case, I've used a piece of cork that for the sake of time, I've already pre-drilled the holes in it. You can use the regular drill.
And there.
And I've positioned them in a way that when I mount the plant, it'll be sturdy in all directions. When you're tying it to a tree, you're not going to be able to obviously drill holes. So what you're going to have to do is, using a pantyhose, you can use I have knee highs here that I use for the purpose of demonstrating when I do these at different events. But when you're using it to tie it to a tree, you would actually use the whole pantyhose. Since you're not going to be able to drill holes
into the tree,
right, then you would tie them in this direction when you're using the tree, and it widens. That's another reason why you use the pantyhose, because it has a wider coverage.
So when you're going to mount to a tree, a palm tree, anything you can't drill into, the pantyhose is the way to go.
The pantyhose is the way to go.
And it's biodegradable, it falls apart eventually, it doesn't damage the tree.
And it doesn't damage the roots of the actual plant that you're mounting.
Okay.
And you would just basically use it in different sections of the plant to...
What are the main sections you need to tie?
The bottom, the bottom part, from the rhizome back, so that the plant feels...
You mean from the bottom of...
Yeah, this is the rhizome here.
From here
down.
Down.
Because
okay.
This is what's going to secure the plant onto the tree.
All right.
And you're going to use that. In this case, you would use two, one on each side, one on the top and one on the bottom, because they need to feel secured. Because I'm mounting it onto a cork and I have pre-drilled the holes, I'm going to use this plastic covered wiring.
Now I have a question. When you mount this onto a tree, how do you decide where on the tree?
That's a matter of choice. This plant, for example, needs bright light. Doesn't need full sun, but it needs bright light. So you want to put it on the tree in an area where it gets exactly that. If you're mounting a plant that needs shade, such as a phalaenopsis or something of that nature, you would then use the shadier part of the tree to do it. But as far as the location of the tree, other than whether it's shady or bright light, depends on the plant that you're actually mounting.
So primarily you need to know what kind of orchid you're going to tie to the tree, and if it needs, how much bright light it needs or not. That's the main thing to consider.
That's the main thing as far as where you put it.
And any kind of tree will work, or are some trees easier with orchids than others?
For the most part, most trees that are grown in South Florida work. That has been my personal experience. There are those who have advised me that there are certain trees that they've tried that doesn't work for them. It's basically try it. If it doesn't work, then take it off and do it again.
How long should you allow the trial period?
Well, you'll see. The plant will tell you that it's not liking it there. Either it's not adhering itself to the tree or something. One thing that you have to keep in mind when you're tying it to palm trees are known to produce scale. And you want to keep that in mind when you're mounting it to a palm tree, so that you're keeping track of that problem, and a systemic pesticide such as orthene will address that problem, but just so that you know that that is one of the downsides to using palm trees.
All right, so here now we're doing a cork board.
Yes, it's actually a piece of cork. It's not a board. It's a cork bark.
Okay. When you decided to drill these holes, why did you drill it right here in this spot? I mean, you have all of this surface here. Why'd you go here?
No particular reason other than to allow the plant space to grow in all directions. This plant will continue growing, and this particular piece of bark happens to have a groove there, so the roots sit well in that spot, and that's basically the only reason why I chose that.
Okay.
It's no different than when you're mounting it on a tree. You just choose a spot. There is no particular reason other than the bright lighting when you're using a tree. In this case, because we're not using a tree, it really doesn't matter. I just used that spot.
Okay. Now you put these into the holes, but you didn't explain what did you do. You folded them in half.
I use them in doubles because it lasts longer, but you don't really have to. Trying to find. Here we go. Here's the hole. When you do it in doubles, the wires last a little longer, so that it allows the plant more time to adhere to attach itself to the tree.
And here you're tying the same areas from the rhizome down.
Well, in this case, I'm tying both the rhizome and the plant itself because it's mounted in the air.
Okay.
I'm using both an up and down and a cross scenario so that the plant is secured both up and down and.
Any particular way that you do like a crossover or you're...
Yeah, I just tie it across so that the plant has a way of being secured.
I see.
There's no...
And you just want to make a knot that holds it sturdy.
Yeah, and basically...
And you don't want this side to kind of lean over...
Right.
Anything.
And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn it over, and as you can see, the pieces of wire that I threaded through are on this side, and then just, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull back.
I see, that tightens it.
That will tighten it. I'm going to first tighten both.
So you did two here first. Now you're doing, is this the same piece as this one, or is this two separate
No, it's
pieces?
two separate. One's going up and down, and one is going horizontal.
This one and this one's the same piece?
Yes, this is one piece that's
right,
going...
this is one. This is going up and down. This one
is going
is
horizontal.
going horizontal.
Yes.
Okay.
What I'm going to do now is...
So they all kind of mesh in there.
Once
you've tightened them individually, they just tighten them all together like in one piece. And you have to hold the orchid so it mounts as tightly as possible. Huh?
Yeah, I had a little technical problem here in that the wrong piece of wire let me figure this out here for a second. I can just solve it by doing this.
So what happened? The wires got crossed?
The wires got crossed, but
so when that happens, you just maybe recut and retighten, and that's it.
That's it.
All right.
It's no really major problem.
Now, what's the advantage of mounting an orchid on a cork like this?
Well,
is it just decorative or portability?
Well,
or what is it?
It's a little bit of everything. It's portability. It's a natural way for the orchid to grow. You have to keep in mind that in the jungle, they grow attached to trees. So this is the closest to a natural environment that they're going to have.
This is much better than a pot then?
Ideally, this is where you want to grow an orchid.
I see.
Orchids in the wild grow attached to trees. So this is, again, the closest to their natural environment that you're going to be able to provide. Oftentimes people will tell me, well, but the thing is, if I mount it, see?
Very nice. So now it's all
mounted.
tight.
It's all tight in there.
Sturdy. It's in place. It's not too long. If this was very long, would you have to put something up here to keep this from falling forward?
No, because since you're tying it this way, the plant itself is tight, so nothing is going to really make it flop down.
Okay, let's take a look at the... Alright, so you did
So it's
All right.
secured in there. And then what I've done is the same 12 gauge wire that I use to make the tickle tool. I buy it in rolls so that I can use whatever size I need. Pardon the wiping, but it's hot, as you can imagine, in this greenhouse. So middle of July is not necessarily the coolest time in the greenhouse, but so I've taken the 12 gauge wire and I've made a hook. I've pre-drilled the hole on top of the cork, and now the plant is ready. The label I've used, as I've indicated in previous videos, I've put the name with pencil so that it doesn't.
Pencil definitely lasts longer.
Oh, most certainly, most certainly. A pen will will wear off, and they've got this indelible inks that they use. But I found that with time, they don't stay as long as promised. So it's easier to just use a pencil from the get-go.
And you just do that to tighten the hook?
To secure the hook, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
And
plant
that's it.
is securely tightened. It's mounted, and it will stay there for a very long time. The
Very
cork,
nice.
Yeah, the cork will last a very long time. The plant will start sprouting roots, and it'll cover all of this as if it were an actual tree because it's its natural bark. So
All right, very nice.
it is now mounted and ready for enjoyment. And the benefit to doing it on a cork slab is that portability. You can, once the plant is in bloom, you can bring it to an area of the house, or you can enjoy it while it's in bloom, or you can put it in your backyard, in your covered terrace, or anywhere where you can enjoy it when it's in bloom, and then take it back to where you had it once the bloom is finished.
All right.
So there you have it, folks.
Thank you
An
very
orchid
much.
has been mounted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.